Let's take a look at this graphic, shall we? Women's national team training camp roster taking place in Durham, North Carolina, December 12th to the 14th. We got Bats, Boston, Brittany Griner, Hamby, Kiki Iriafin, Paige, Caitlin Clark, Rakia Jackson, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray. And if you look at the poster where you put your best marketing tools on.
Look at that poster. Really look at it. USA Basketball just announced their women's national team training camp roster for December 12th through 14th in Durham, North Carolina. The roster includes Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, and a mix of established veterans. This should be a marketing slam dunk. Instead, they put Kalia Copper front and center, a player whose most memorable moment this season was her wig falling off mid-game and being left on the court. Next to her, Alyssa Thomas, who had a fan laughing at her escorted out by security, and Jackie Young, who despite being an excellent player, is virtually unknown to casual fans. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's name is buried 6th down an alphabetical list. No photo, no visual presence. The one player who could single-handedly drive interest in this event is invisible on the promotional graphic.
Left off the court, and then Alyssa Thomas has that fan laughing at her, escorted out by security. We have Jackie Young, no shade to Jackie Young, but folks, I can walk up to 150,000 people in the streets of New York City and ask them if you know who this woman is. No disrespect, Jackie Young. All 150,000 of those people would say, yeah, I got no idea. I don't even know who any of these people are. That person looks familiar, but I really don't know her name. What's going on, Team USA?
Christine Brennan, the veteran sports writer who literally wrote the book on Caitlin Clark, called this out immediately. She's covered Olympics and U.S. sports national governing bodies for over 40 years. Her assessment was brutal and accurate. If USA Basketball really wanted to go all out promoting women's basketball, bring new fans in and get unprecedented attention for a team that dropped in TV viewership at the Paris Olympics, they would have added the photo of one other player to this graphic. We all know who that player is, and so does USA Basketball, which makes this decision even more baffling.
Fair. That's the only person that would say, yeah, she doesn't deserve to be on this roster, just out of pure old guard, jealousy, spite, hate narrative. It's clear as day that the people that made the decisions to put out this poster is somebody that is still pushing back against the Caitlin Clark is the reason why we're all here narrative.
Let's talk about what happened at the 2024 Paris Olympics, because that context is crucial. USA Basketball made the decision to leave Caitlin Clark off the Olympic roster entirely. They also left Angel Reese off. From a pure skill standpoint, Clark deserved to be there. From a popularity and growth standpoint, both Clark and Reese needed to be there. The numbers don't lie. Women's basketball viewership exploded during the 2024 college season specifically because of these players. But USA Basketball went with the old guard, the established name, the players who had earned their spot through years in the system. And what happened? TV viewership for women's basketball at the Paris Olympics dropped. Not increased. Dropped. The one opportunity to capitalize on the massive momentum from the college season, and they fumbled it completely.
And Team USA has went the correct route, in my opinion. They embraced the young guns. They embraced the younger generation, the generation that more casuals know. Names that are more familiar, not Alyssa Thomas. Who's Alyssa Thomas? No, we left her off. Now we have Caitlin Clark on the roster. Now we have Paige on the roster, Angel on the roster, Cam Brink on the roster, Aaliyah Boston on the roster. Names that we all know.
Here's where it gets interesting. For the 2026 FIBA World Cup roster, USA Basketball completely changed their approach. They embraced the young guns. They brought in the next generation. Caitlin Clark is on the roster. Paige Beckers is on the roster. Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, Aaliyah Boston. All the names that casual fans actually recognize and care about. The error from 2024 was so egregious that they replaced the person making these decisions and brought in Cheryl Reeve to start calling the shots for Team USA. So the organization clearly learned something from the Olympic disaster. They recognized they needed to change course. They understood that growing the game requires featuring the players who actually move the needle with audiences. But then they released this poster.
Wanted to go all out promoting women's basketball, bring new fans in, and get unprecedented attention for a team that dropped in TV viewership at the Paris Olympics. They would have added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. And we all know who that one other player is. I've covered the Olympics and U.S. sports national governing bodies for 40 plus years and plan to be covering them for many more. And NGB's mission is to win medals, but also grow its...
And that's where the confusion sets in. On one hand, USA Basketball demonstrated they learned their lesson by building a roster that balances veteran leadership with the star power of the new generation. The roster itself is exactly what it should be. But the marketing? The promotional strategy? It's like they learned nothing at all. Think about the average sports fan scrolling through social media. They see this poster. If they're not already a hardcore WNBA fan, they see Kelsey Plum, maybe they recognize her face. Maybe they don't even know her name and they keep scrolling. There's nothing on this graphic that makes them stop. Nothing that creates intrigue. Nothing that says this matters. Now imagine if Caitlin Clark's face was on that poster. Immediately, casual fans stop scrolling. Oh, Caitlin's playing? When is this? Where can I watch? That's the reaction you want. That's how you grow an audience. That's basic marketing.
People would be intrigued. People would say, oh, Caitlin Clark's back? Let me take a look. You don't even know Caitlin Clark's back playing basketball by looking at this graphic. You would need to squint your eyes real hard and see her sixth way down the list. And I get it, it's in alphabetical order. Even more of a purpose to put Caitlin Clark front and center on this graphic. But we got Ka Copper. And I understand some people might say, oh, well, they're using people that have already been on the team. Photoshop's a hell of a drug. Going back in time is a hell of a job.
Let's address the obvious counter-argument. Maybe they only used players who already have Team USA photos in the official uniform. That's a reasonable assumption. But here's the thing. Photoshop exists. Graphic design exists. Caitlin Clark played for USA Basketball earlier in her career with the FIBA teams. Those photos exist. Even if they didn't, you can create promotional graphics that don't require game photos. Nike does it constantly. The NBA does it constantly. This isn't a technical limitation. This is a choice. And if we're being honest, it's probably easier to Photoshop Caitlin into a Team USA uniform than it was to make whatever decisions led to featuring Kahleah Copper so prominently. No disrespect to Copper as a player, but from a pure marketing perspective, she doesn't move the needle with casual fans. That's just reality.
You can Photoshop Caitlin Clark in one of these new nice threads, or you can go back to her days when she was playing with the FIBA team earlier in her basketball career. But to continue to drop the ball is absolutely ridiculous. You ever watch those cartoons? You have like a waiter just carrying all these pots and pans at one time, and then out of nowhere they just slip, and then all the pots and pans fall all over the floor. They got to go back, they got to remake the food. This is kind of like what Team USA is doing with this basketball team in advertising and marketing and promoting. They have all this cash on a pan.
Here's what this reveals about the people making these decisions. Someone in USA Basketball's marketing department is still pushing back against the narrative that Caitlin Clark is a primary reason women's basketball has exploded in popularity. They're part of the group that resents her success, that wants to credit the entire league or all the players, rather than acknowledging that individual star power matters. This isn't speculation. The evidence is right there in the poster. When you have a roster that includes the biggest name in women's basketball, and you choose not to feature her in your promotional materials, that's not an oversight. That's ideology overriding common sense. That's someone saying we're not going to give her special treatment, even when special treatment is exactly what smart marketing requires. Look at the roster on that poster. Who would actually have a problem with Caitlin Clark being featured prominently? Most of these players understand how star power works. They know that Caitlin's visibility helps everyone. The only player who might genuinely object is Kahleah Copper, and that would be purely out of old guard jealousy and resentment.
These people are fools, man. There's no other way to really describe it. These people are just fools. Should have had CC, Paige, and Angel in the graphic. I swear women's basketball doesn't know how to promote their product. Why should that change? WNBA has dropped the ball. Indiana Fever have dropped the ball. Nike has dropped the ball. Damn near the only ones that haven't been Wilson and the Women's Professional Golf, LPGA, not WPGA. Don't worry, WNBA media coaches, these players will get a front row seat when they see the foreign teams' fans seek their autograph picture like they're at a Michael Jackson concert. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I appreciate all the support.
But let's zoom out and look at the bigger pattern here, because this isn't an isolated incident. This is part of a consistent failure across multiple organizations to properly market women's basketball's biggest star. USA Basketball dropped the ball with the Olympic roster and now with this poster. The WNBA has repeatedly failed to capitalize on Clark's popularity. The Indiana Fever's own marketing has been inconsistent at best. Nike took months to release her signature shoe and fumbled the rollout. The only organizations that seem to understand what they have are Wilson, who immediately partnered with her for basketballs, and the LPGA, which brought her in for promotional events and treated her like the star she is. Everyone else is either actively working against their own interests or so paralyzed by internal politics that they can't execute basic marketing strategy. Christine Brennan's observation cuts to the heart of it. USA Basketball's mission is to win medals, but also to grow the sport. They utterly failed to grow women's basketball at the 2024 Olympics, and now with a second chance, they're making the same mistakes. Different context, same failure. Think about what happens when this team travels internationally. When they arrive in whatever country is hosting, the fans there are going to go absolutely crazy for Caitlin Clark. They're going to treat her like she's at a Michael Jackson concert. They're going to swarm her for autographs and photos. The international basketball community understands star power. They understand that individual players drive interest in the sport. And the WNBA media, the coaches, the old guard players who've been resistant to acknowledging Clark's impact, they're going to have front row seats to watch foreign fans demonstrate exactly what they've been denying. It's going to be undeniable. The contrast between how international audiences treat her versus how the American basketball establishment has treated her is going to be stark and uncomfortable. That's when reality hits. That's when you can't hide behind narratives about team success or everyone contributes equally. When thousands of fans are chanting one player's name, when the media coverage in that country focuses primarily on one player, when the ticket sales and TV ratings spike specifically because of one player, you can't pretend that star power doesn't exist. So what should USA Basketball have done with this poster? It's not complicated. You feature Caitlin Clark prominently. You include Paige Bueckers. You put Angel Reese on there. And yes, you include Juju Watkins from the current roster because she represents the next wave of stars. Those four faces would capture the attention of casual fans, hardcore fans, and everyone in between. You can still include veterans like Kelsey Plum or Chelsea Gray in smaller roles on the graphic. You're not disrespecting anyone by acknowledging that some players have more marketing power than others. That's how professional sports work. That's how you grow an audience. The NBA doesn't hide LeBron James in alphabetical lists. The NFL doesn't bury Patrick Mahomes in promotional material. You lead with your stars, but instead we get Kalia Copper and Jackie Young featured prominently while Caitlin Clark is buried in the text. It's backwards. It's counterproductive, and it's a continuation of the same pattern we've seen all year. Here's what makes this particularly frustrating for fans who want to see women's basketball succeed. The sport is right there on the edge of a major breakthrough. The audience is primed. The interest is real. The momentum from the 2024 college season proved that millions of people will watch women's basketball when you give them compelling stars and storylines. But growth requires more than just having talented players. It requires smart marketing. It requires understanding your audience. It requires putting aside personal feelings and organizational politics to do what actually works. And time after time, the people in charge of these decisions have proven they either don't understand this or they're unwilling to do it. The tragedy is that the players themselves, including many of the veterans, would probably be fine with featuring the young stars more prominently. Most professional athletes understand how the business works. They know that rising tides lift all boats. They know that if Caitlin Clark's star power brings more attention to women's basketball, everyone benefits through better TV deals, higher salaries, more sponsorship opportunities, and greater respect for the sport. The resistance isn't coming from the players. It's coming from administrators, marketing departments, and media members who are invested in a particular narrative about how success should be distributed and recognized. Let's talk about what this means for the December training camp. Despite the terrible poster, this event actually matters. It's the first official gathering of this new-looked Team USA roster. It's where we'll see how Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers, and Angel Reese mesh with the veteran core. It's where the coaching staff will start figuring out rotations and roles for the 2026 World Cup. From a basketball perspective, this is fascinating. How does Cheryl Reeve integrate these young stars? Does Caitlin get significant playing time, or is this more about learning the system? How do the veterans respond to the new dynamic? These are legitimate storylines that should be driving interest in the event. But because USA Basketball failed to market it properly, most casual fans won't even know it's happening. They won't know when it is, where it is, or how to follow along. The organization had a golden opportunity to build anticipation, create buzz, and draw new eyeballs to women's basketball in December. Typically a slow time for the sport since the WNBA season is over, and college is just ramping up. Instead, they released a poster that looks like it was designed by someone who actively doesn't want people to pay attention. Here's the broader question this raises. If USA Basketball can't figure out how to market Caitlin Clark properly, what does that say about the sport's ability to sustain its current momentum? Growth isn't automatic. It requires consistent, smart decisions by the people running these organizations. It requires understanding your audience and giving them what they want. The 2024 college season proved there is an enormous appetite for women's basketball when it's marketed correctly. Iowa's games featuring Caitlin Clark drew massive ratings. The championship game between Iowa and South Carolina was the most watched women's college basketball game in history. Those weren't hardcore fans. Those were casual sports fans who tuned in specifically to watch a generational talent. But translating that college success into sustained WNBA and international basketball growth requires the professional organizations to do their part. They need to feature their stars. They need to create compelling storylines. They need to make it easy for new fans to find and follow the sport. And they're not doing it. Or at least they're not doing it consistently enough. Think about the missed opportunities we've already seen in 2024 alone. The Olympic roster decision was the first major fumble, leaving Clark off the team when her presence could have driven unprecedented interest in women's Olympic basketball. The WNBA's scheduling decisions put several of Clark's games on streaming services that casual fans don't have access to. The league's social media strategy has been inconsistent in promoting her highlights. And now this poster from USA Basketball. Each individual decision might seem minor, but cumulatively they represent a pattern of organizations failing to capitalize on the biggest opportunity women's basketball has ever had. It's like watching someone fumble a gift. The audience is there. The interest is real. The star power exists, but the infrastructure and decision-making aren't matching the moment. Other sports have faced similar inflection points and succeeded by making smart choices. The WNBA's own history shows this. The league survived its early struggles partly because it properly marketed stars like Lisa Leslie, Diana Taurasi, and Sue Bird. The NBA's explosion in the 1980s happened because they marketed Magic Johnson and Larry Bird brilliantly. Individual stars drive league growth. That's not controversial. That's just how sports business works. So where does this leave us heading into 2025? USA Basketball has the roster right for the World Cup. Even if their marketing is wrong, that's actually encouraging. It means the people making basketball decisions understand what needs to happen. The disconnect is in the marketing department, which is fixable if the organization wants to fix it. The real test will be how they promote the actual World Cup when it arrives in 2026. Will they learn from this poster mistake? Will they feature their stars appropriately? Or will we see another baffling decision to hide Caitlin Clark while featuring players that casual fans don't recognize? And beyond USA Basketball, the question extends to every organization involved in women's basketball. The WNBA needs to figure this out. Individual teams need to figure this out. Sponsors need to figure this out. Media partners need to figure this out. Everyone needs to be aligned on the basic principle that you market your stars prominently, because that's how you grow the sport. The good news is that the talent is there. Caitlin Clark is a legitimate superstar. Paige Beckers is right behind her. Angel Reese brings a different style and personality that appeals to a different segment of fans. The next generation with players like Juju Watkins is already emerging. The on-court product is compelling. The players are ready. The question is whether the people running these organizations can get out of their own way and make the obvious decisions that will help the sport grow. Based on this poster, that question remains very much open. Here's what I keep coming back to. This isn't complicated. You don't need an MBA or a marketing degree to understand that you feature your most popular player prominently in promotional materials,